two kinds of phishing out here. One for fish, one for your data. Hackers try to hook you, but Cisco Duo keeps every user and device protected. Cisco Duo. Phishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.
So, Mr. Justin.
Yeah, Mr. Andros.
Yeah, listen, so, I don't know if you know this, but political season is coming up. Like, there's going to be, like, elections and stuff.
No shit.
Yeah, and I was thinking about pivoting my business to get some of that election money, get some of that Citizens United money from dark sources, so I can like advertise on the Facebook. Yeah, man, because there's no rules. It's like the Wild West. What do you think of that idea?
Well, as long as that money's coming from online, I like myself internet money, so.
Yeah, I like internet money too. And lucky for us, we have an expert who's going to tell us all about that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Marketing Geeks.
Marketing Geeks.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Where is Daredevil? I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
And we're back, and I'm Andros Sturgeon.
And I am Justin Womack.
And we are the Marketing Geeks. And ladies and gentlemen, we have we've had some complaints on this show that sometimes I get a little too political, but I can't help it. As I've said, marketing is political. But our next guest has made a career out of this. He has a very interesting story. He is the best-selling author of Fire Them Now, the 7 Lies Digital Marketers Sell. I want to find out what those 7 lies are. And he's worked with he has more than 20 years of experience with political marketing. So I want to find out all about all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, Phillip Stutts.
Good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Let's jump into this. Let's rumble.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, buddy. Well, before we start off, first of all, you have an interesting story because you in 2012 were diagnosed with an incurable disease. Would you mind talking about that first? Because I want to find out, I'm going to rewind the clock. We'll leave that as an open loop. But I want to find out, how did you get into political marketing to begin with?
So wait, which one am I answering?
Yeah. Political marketing.
Political marketing. Like, how did you get into that?
I thought about this. I got asked this on a podcast recently, and let me trace it back to, I am 45 years old. I am the first generation of ADD kids. We weren't even ADHD. We were just ADD.
Oh, man. And I'm a little bit older, and when we had that, it wasn't called that. It was called, what the fuck's the matter with you? Get to your work!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was step 1. I was step 2, right. So I was diagnosed. I was put on Ritalin. I was told I was dumb. I was in classes that were literally, I had special ed kids in my class because this is the way they treated people that learn differently. It's also why I'm an entrepreneur, because I went through a lot of rejection early on in my life. But ultimately, as part of the ADD, I just can't do something I'm not really passionate about. I literally have a mental wall. I can't do it. Yeah. And so I really only cared about 2 things growing up, and that was, as crazy as it sounds, college football. I grew up in the state of Alabama, went to the University of Alabama, and then I started being intrigued by politics because I guess it's the competition of it, right, that keeps my attention. And so I started following politics. I was not a in any kind of political clubs in high school or college. I drank beer and had fun in college and high school, but I was totally intrigued by politics. I read the Washington Post when I was in college, like a nerd, and I finally just said, I was either going to go work in some kind of like sports marketing or political marketing, and because those were the difference makers between whether people won or lost, people were successful or people failed. And I liked the living on the edge like that, and those two industries have it. And so in 1996, I worked for the presidential campaign of Bob Dole. That was my first campaign. He lost to Bill Clinton, and but I will tell you,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, yeah. Don't if you don't know the results, push mute now. But hey, I will tell you this: working on a political campaign, stick with me. It's like smoking crack, and let me tell you why. All right, people that are on crack are like, it's the greatest high in the world, but it's ultimately not good for your health. And when you're working on a political campaign, you're working 7 days a week. All day long. There was a 3-year period where I had 20 days off over 3 years between the time I was 28 and 30. And I was so passion driven. I was fighting for these candidates I was working for. I was living in states like South Dakota and Louisiana and Washington, D.C., literally as a vagabond, living out of my car, working 7 days a week to elect what the politician I was working for. This is the most passionate I've ever been in my life. It's also the most unhealthy I've ever been in my life. And so when the campaign ends, just like smoking crack, you go, all right, I can never do this again. It's the worst thing for me. I've got to get over this. I cannot do this anymore. And then after about a week of that, of getting off the political campaign, because the election's over, you start getting the itch again, and you're like, I got to go back to the pipe. And it's like, and so in a way, like I just kept going back to political campaigns, but it's like a drug in a way, because it's a win or lose, it's a win or die mentality, and I love that.
Right.
No, I'm just thinking back here. Like 96 was the Dole election, and you're 45, so you were pretty young going on the campaign trail. I mean, when did that start? Like 94, 95, when you started working on that campaign? No, I just did
96.
Just 96. Okay, just at the end of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was political advertising like back in those days?
Yeah, how was it changed? Yeah.
Well, it's massive.
Well, there was no internet.
Wait, how many podcasts you want to do with me? Listen, back then, obviously, it was all traditional. Like I can't. The day, I'm going to really, what I'd focus on more than anything else, of where I think we are 100 times more innovative, is how we look at data and produce great strategy out of data. I think that's the difference between what we do. I think that's where we out innovate corporate marketers. And back then, the data was just good enough to run TV ads, radio ads, drop mail, knock on doors, and make phone calls. That was it. Obviously, it's much more complicated now, but like the world and the economic world is sort of disrupting right now. There's everything, all these industries are changing. Look, our industry changed and went through this starting in 2004 and resulted in 2016 with the election of Donald Trump. Whether you like him or not, he's the most disruptive force in the history of American politics. And the fact is that didn't happen in 2016. It started in 2004 when, for the first time ever, and by the way, on 2004, I was running the Get Out the Vote marketing campaign for George W. Bush's reelection. And what happened in that campaign was we had a meeting one day, and the people came in and said, all right, we're going to radically look at data in this campaign. Now, this is 2004. This is before any kind of social media, right? And we went, what do you mean? And they said, well, we're going to take consumer data, and we're going to marry it with voter data. Voter data is simply like in your state right now, or whatever state you live in the United States, I can go to the Secretary of State, Board of Elections. They'll give me all the data on the voters, not who you voted for, but I'll know if you voted, what party you're registered to, whether you're male, female, how old you are, whether you have kids in the house. That's all voter data, but it's very broad data, right? And before 2004, that's the data. That's all the data we utilized on political campaigns until 2004, when we married consumer data with that voter data to understand deeply what those voters cared about and deliver ads just to what they cared about, right? It was the first time it had ever been done. And it really was the catalyst of why we won that election for the re-election for President Bush. And it was the most disruptive moment in political marketing history until 2008, when Obama modeled everything we had built in 2004 And he added in the social media layer, and he optimized it even more in 2012. And that was the two most innovative marketing campaigns in political history until 2016, when Trump came in and took that data model, took the social media, which, by the way, the targeting in social media in 16 was beyond anything that had ever been done before. And he married it with great branding, the best branding campaign that had ever been run. And that created what, I'm not talking about partisanship or anything like that, just the marketing of that alone was the most innovative innovation that's ever occurred in political history.
Yeah.
And we keep seeing these disruptions. And one last point. Why? Because we have election day. I have a winner and I have a loser. It's over. It's not my quarterly report. It's not meeting with my board to talk about my budgets or my brand identity. It's none of that bullshit. It is you win or you lose. I'm out of business if I don't win more than I lose. So I'm just obsessed with innovating because I either innovate or I die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And so you kind of like that high pressure sort of like, like it's an adrenaline rush. I could see that. There's other points to it also. I mean, the fact that, in my view, Facebook has been weaponized to basically take that data and then not only feed you messaging but also feed you fear, so you make certain maneuvers. That's something that I take issue with.
Sure.
But that's beside the point. What I really want to find out though is what do you see 2020 looking like now? Like, what are the bigger innovations that you feel are going to happen and change even more?
Sure. So Facebook is a total shit platform in politics. Marketing.
No.
I hope you're being facetious.
Oh,
pretty sure it is.
2016, and on Facebook, you could persuade voters. And that voter data I told you about that we had, that we've always utilized, we were able to overlay that on Facebook and only target our ads to people that are registered to vote, or if we know that they're high propensity voters. So like if you registered to vote but you never vote, I won't go after you, right?
Yeah.
But if you vote all the time, that's maybe how we would target that. So
well, one of the things that I came to understand is that the targeting got really specific to finding the most, I'll call them vulnerable, or the most persuadable segments, like the people that are truly independent, that tend to change of election to election whether they vote Republican or Democrat, and that the Trump campaign did an excellent job of really segmenting them down, and that was part of the Cambridge Analytica thing. No.
Oh, you're right, but the Cambridge Analytica thing is something totally separate. So put that over to the side.
Okay, put that to the side.
Your premise is 100% right.
Yeah. So tell me about that. So tell me, how do you target? How do you target
let me put a bow on the previous question, and then I'll go to that.
You got it.
So Facebook in 2016 was a great persuasion platform. It is not a persuasion platform anymore. It is too hard. Facebook has too many limitations on it. They've pretty much ended that ability. What it is the ability to reinforce a message to the people that already like you, and to raise money. That's the only reason to be on Facebook now. It is not to persuade voters. It is almost impossible to do that anymore. To get to the what do you want to know about Cambridge? I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Just tell us what you know.
Yeah, Cambridge is a total fraudulent company. They can say that they work. That documentary on Netflix is 100% bullshit.
Really?
And I will tell you, the Trump people hated them and barely used them. Cambridge came to my office 3 different times over a 3-year period, and we laughed them out of our office because they were so inept. What that documentary says is complete and utter bullshit. My friends worked at Cambridge. They will tell you it was bullshit, that they were making up stuff to try to get contracts, that they were lying in their pitches to get contracts, that what they said they could do, they could not do. And
so what's the real story then? Give us like the real point.
Yeah, there are other data companies out there that we work with that are 1,000 times more effective than what Cambridge ever said they could do.
So why can't you persuade on Facebook anymore? Is it just too
cumbersome?
They'll
take it down.
They'll take it down. Okay.
They won't do anything. Yeah, and it, like Twitter and by the way, Google is now eliminating a lot of. The platforms are eliminating the ability to get the message out. Now, most of your audience is going to be like, "Good, thank God, hate those fucking political ads." I get that. I understand that, but the New York Times and the Washington Post still are putting up political posts, anti-candidate posts. Stories that hurt candidates, whether they're Republican or Democrat, mostly to help Democrats and hurt Republicans. And they are advertising those things on Facebook. They're advertising those on Google. They are using the platform to push an agenda. And we are not allowed to respond to that anymore on our side. And I just think that's wholly unfair. I think
that's funny. It's not what I'm seeing. I see a different type of narrative than that. But as far as because there's definitely like news sites on both sides that have agendas, right?
Oh yeah, sure,
and push stories. Mm-hmm. And there's narratives that are competing, right?
Sure, the narrative on the conservative site for sure. The narrative on Daily Kos for sure, right? That's the liberal site. Mm-hmm. The narrative on the Washington Post and the New York Times is supposed to be down the middle, and it's not.
No.
I mean, and so that's my.
Well, you look at who owns. You follow the money. Who owns them? Like, what are the?
Totally agree. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
What are the agendas of the people who own these these things? But what I really want to get down to then is how are you going to be involved in some campaigning this coming? So what are the strategies that you're employing now?
Well, it's I would almost say, what tactics are you employing now? The strategy has never differed. It is, and I'd even take a step back. The one thing that we're doing with our corporate clients is employing the same formula that we get political or politicians elected. I'm not seeing this formula being implemented in the business marketing world. Sports teams implement this exact formula. Trial lawyers implement this formula to win cases. Sports teams use it to win championships. Doctors use it to cure patients. We use it in politics to win in our marketing to win elections, and I don't see it in the business world. And then I'm going to get to the tactics in there, but the first step is you must know what the voter cares about. So the first thing I do when I work with a politician before I go market them is I go I'm going to be very elementary here just because of time, but we go out and take a poll in the district. It's much more complicated than that. It's much more analytical and data driven. I can, look at hundreds of thousands of data per voter and understand what they think and feel. But for this sake, we'll go take a poll in a state or a district, and we'll find out what the voters care about. What I always do is sit down with a candidate and say, what do you care about? And let's say that candidate, she says, I care about these 10 things. And I go, awesome. We just took a poll in your state, and your voters only care about the 2 of the things that you care about. And they care about them at a very high intensity level. We are not talking about those 8 things at all. We're only going to talk about 2 things from now and for the next 18 months. That's all we're going to talk about. Those 2 things. Now, there are going to be 1,000 different variations of those 2 things, but that's it. Nothing more. We're not deviating. We're going, this is what the voters care about. If you're a business marketer out there, it's the same mentality. Are you utilizing all the data on your customers to deeply understand what they care about before you market a product or service? They don't give a fuck about your product or service. You must find out what they care about and then use your product or service to serve their needs. So that's how we look at things. Then we build a complete strategic plan. Then this is step 2 in the political world. We build the marketing plan. Step 3 is we rebrand or brand them completely based on what the data told us. Those 2 things. Obviously, there's a biographical aspect of it, but we're going to focus in on 2 or 3 things. That's it. That's all our branding is going to be about. And then we're going to go out and we're going to test the message. So the message, it could be the language, it could be obviously the content. We'll test it 100 different ways. On the Trump campaign in 2016, they would take one ad and they would test it 116 different ways. It could be a different colored background. It could be a green background, a blue background. They could change one word. They could change one little message. They could do a million different ways. And then what we would find is what obviously the voters will click or want to know more. And then we go, great. Now that we've run all the messaging testing, now that we know within those 2 or 3 issues what crushes and what doesn't, we know how to run this. So, for example, we were one of the media firms for the governor's race in New Hampshire in 2018. A guy named John Sununu running for governor. This was the year of the woman in politics, right? All these incredible candidates that ran that were women, and I think it's awesome. We had a woman running against a white Republican governor in a blue wave election. And it was a very close race. The data on the voters told us very simply that tax cuts were extremely important to sell to the voters. More than anything else, the governor had enacted tax cuts. They were very popular, and that's what we should be talking about. But what we found in the testing phase was something we did not expect, and this is why, if you're a business owner, this is the exact same thing that happens. We find it with every corporate client we work with. But what happened was we found that independent voters were the key segment we had to narrow in on. Independent men just wanted the reinforcement of tax cuts. They didn't care about anything else. Independent women wanted to know how these tax cuts affected people. So our ads were to men on the social digital OTT platforms were all about tax cuts. This governor came to you. He gave you more money in your pocket. Boom, that's it. Our video ads for independent women, and they were only delivered to independent women, were about a mom's story about how the tax cuts put more money in your pocket, and she was able to send her, and these are true stories, by the way. I don't work in false narratives. And it was about how she was able to provide more options for her family, she could have a better life, all this stuff. The governor, before we ran those ads, before we really started testing that data, it was a tied race. He ended up winning by 8 points. In a blue wave election, in the election of the woman, he won. And I'm telling you, this is how we run every political marketing campaign. Guess what? My opponent that is marketing the other candidate that's trying to beat me is running the same formula. In business marketing, no one follows this formula, or 99% of marketers don't follow this formula.
Yeah. I think most people get married to, they get trapped in that one idea, but then they don't segment it down further. Like what you talked about, you actually segmented it down to the independent women who want to hear the story with the music in the background and get the real personal touch. And then the men just want the bottom line. Just show me that we saved money and I'm good. I'll vote for you again.
Right. So I'll give you another example on the corporate front of how we did that. We work with an apparel company. And when we went in this testing phase, we found out that I'm a big proponent, we could go off on a huge tangent on this, on using comparative advertising in corporate and marketing and advertising. People don't do it. It draws huge distinctions. If you do it in a way that doesn't offend anybody, you have an exponential growth in your marketplace. I'm a huge proponent of it. I call it comparatizing, right? Not negative ads, but comparatizing, right? It's in politics, I'll beat somebody over the head with a stick. I don't care. But in corporate, you can't do that. And so with this apparel company, we did a testing phase, and we found out in the data that the customer base wanted a higher standard. So we went in and tested all of these different messages. What we found was the number one ad amongst men 18 to 35 was the comparatizing ad we ran for them. And it was, don't buy your clothes from a shoe company. And then the tagline was, just don't do it. It blew everything we had out of the water. Men loved it. They crushed it. They were purchasing like crazy. But women responded at a higher rate to a third-party validation, a 5-star review. So all of the ads that they responded to was the ads where the 5-star was across the label of the clothing, and it was like a one quote that somebody had written about their clothing, like the most comfortable things I've ever worn. They wanted to feel and have validation. I wouldn't have known that had I not seen the data and then tested what the data told us. So now, before I go spend all my clients' money on the corporate side, I have eliminated their risk. I've let them win before I make a lot of money. By the way, that's good because I'm going to make a lot of money down the road because they're going to be more successful. And I didn't just say, hey, let's run a bunch of Facebook ads and just put some things up. I had a great brainstorm session at the table this morning. Like, we don't think like that. I don't make a decision without data, and it all comes from how we looked at it in politics.
Now, is this one of your 7 lies that digital marketers sell, like in your book? Is this one of them right here that they're not segmenting down? I'm just curious. And we'll come back. We'll come back.
No,
but yeah.
Yeah. One of the lies is, no, I believe almost all marketing agencies are testing. But what they do, and the lie is, we got to spend a lot of money to test. And I think that's not true. I'm not a big banner ad guy, but I do believe banner ads have a place because it's cheap to test messages and see what if people are going to click on a banner ad, that says a lot to me. And so, because I'm not doing it. So I like to use them there. So I go to companies and I say, before we spend and blow your budget, you want to spend 7% of your, certain amount of your budget on marketing. Before we do that, we're going to go do low cost testing and across the board and segment all these things. And then let's figure out what rises to the top. And once we do that, now we know how to spend your money more appropriately. It's more of an ethical. I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Political marketers are more ethical than business marketers.
No.
Yep. I believe it.
Yep. 100%.
I would say, as far as ethical, I would say it's more a matter of you've got to be more strategic when it comes to those budgets. So they're, yeah. I mean, the thing is, but what you're saying is absolutely right. I mean, whenever I was hired by a company. And they had just launched a campaign, and they spent €100,000 on this campaign, and they were doing banner ads and video ads. And I was like, well, what's the call to action? Oh, we just send them to the website.
Yeah,
you just send them to the front page of the website. Like, what the hell's it?
They'll figure it out.
Test. Well, we had this one ad that we were running. It's like, did you guys run any tests? Did you guys do anything? No. So I came in, I rewired their entire thing, and first thing I said was like, let's look at these different market segments. Let's test these different messages on these different market segments. So we're going to launch the whole campaign with this? No, we're going to spend a little tiny bit of money just to see what works. And then we'll narrow it down, and that's how you do it. Do you
want me to tell you the most unethical play by corporate marketers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, this is my number one. I'll tell you my number one lie. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll go through my number one. It's the biggest. And the lie is you must sign a long-term contract with a corporate marketer. So I interviewed 100 CEOs for the business, Fortune 500 to small business owners. Every single one of them said, we fired 3 marketing firms already in my company. And I go, why? Well, one, we had to sign a 12-month contract with them. And when after 3 months, we realized, first of all, they weren't taking our calls. They weren't responding. The ads weren't working. And we were locked in for 9 more months, and we had to pay them out. And I went, that is total insanity. I'm not saying everybody does this, by the way, but the vast majority do. And here's how it works in my business. Since 1996, I have never, political or corporate, I've never had a contract that wasn't month to month. Every contract I have is month to month. They can fire me at any time if I'm not performing. If that's my mindset, what am I prioritizing? Am I prioritizing some big sale so I can make money in the short term, or am I prioritizing their win first? And when they win, then I win. And that's how it works every single time in politics. And I kept finding CEOs. There was one CEO, now this is a much bigger company, that had to sign a $75,000 signing bonus to the marketing firm just for the privilege of working with them. And I just went, that's totally bogus. The marketing firm should only win when the business wins. And that's why I'm constantly thinking about, my God, if I don't perform, I'm gone. So I must succeed or I'm out of business. Every client, I have 2 marketing agencies, a political and a corporate. Every client of ours is month to month.
Okay, so I got to ask you, Citizens United, it brought in a lot of money. There's a lot of people running.
Yeah.
How do I do it? I want to get into it. I want to taste that.
I'll walk you through the steps in the book, but I will tell you right now. Here's the easy way. You can't. And
why you gotta crush my dreams, man? Why you gotta shit on my wings? Like, what's up with that?
The one exception is a guy named Brad Parscale, who's running Trump's campaign, right? He came from corporate and he...
Oh, I heard all about him. I know his story.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
So here's why. Every contract in politics, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for fundraising, whether it's for anything, is all based on relationships. And everybody in our industry... our business development is complementary players, because they're going to be like, yeah, we don't do what Phillip does. Let's give them the business. Phillip's really good at this. Let's get in the business. They will never, I will never give any money to anybody who has never worked on a political campaign. One, I would never do that. Two, I'm only going to give them a contract on something I don't do to a vendor that I completely trust and have worked with before. That's how everybody operates in our business. Cambridge came in, and the one thing they did do was they basically used their money to blackmail these candidates and say, hey, we'll give you donations, but you have to hire our data company, right? And so that's how they bought their way in. You can probably buy your way in. That's probably the way. But the reason it didn't work was they had no experience in this. And so they came in and said, we're different. We're this great data company. We'll hire some political people. Boom. And by the way, our founders have a lot of money and they'll donate to your campaign. And boom, they got the contract.
Steve Bannon was the guy who founded Cambridge Analytica.
No, he was on their board. That is not.
Yeah, he came up with the name.
The Mercer family is the one that.
Oh, those guys.
Yep.
So okay, so this leads me back to the 2020 campaign. If Facebook, is a platform that I think a lot of people my prediction is that in 5-10 years, unless Facebook comes up with something really innovative, it's going to be a ghost town. It's gonna go the way of MySpace. But what do you see being the big tool that people are going to use to get into the minds of the proletariat out there?
OTT, over the top. Y'all know over the top?
Mm-mm. Right. I don't think so. What is it?
Hulu, Roku, all that. So it's all IP target. So two things. I'm going to tell you the two massive innovations that have come in. Where
Sylvester Stallone movie. He was that's
a great one. Different over the top.
Big fan of that movie.
So, disconnect.
You're gonna bring Sylvester Stallone in. He's gonna arm wrestle every single person for a vote.
Over the top is basically internet connected TV, right?
Okay.
There are going to be two big innovations that are occurring right now that I think are, and I'll walk through them. But over the top, so Hulu, all the TV companies, so Samsung, Vizio, all that, they'll give us all the data. So we can IP target those ads. So if you're on Hulu, and I've cut the cord, 30 to 40% of people have cut the cord. It's growing, right? It's going to be, in 10 years there won't even be cable. So, I'm on. Let's say I have a subscription to Hulu and I have a subscription to YouTube TV. Well, we get the data. Or they give us the data, right? We'll know if you're a voter watching TV. So like we have, I'm not going to tell you which one. We have a corporate client who had a negative story run on them on the NBC Nightly News. We were able to capture the data of everybody that watched on connected TV the NBC Nightly News that night. Nobody else, just those people that saw the negative story. We were able to put an ad in place and only deliver it to the people that saw that NBC Nightly News story. Now, here's the crazy part. It wasn't that we were able to deliver it on Hulu or Roku or any of the connected TV. It's IP targeted. So we were able to deliver it on devices and on connected TV. So now we get the benefit of running ads on a big TV, but uber targeted, which, obviously cable TV, regular TV is not uber targeted. So that is a huge innovation coming in the marketplace. The other, you've heard of geofencing. Right? Everybody know, y'all know geofencing. So
can you explain it to our listeners who don't know?
Great. Geofencing is, I literally can I can draw a circle around your house right now,
Justin,
and deliver ads on your IP address just to you, nobody else. I could put a geofence around a geographic location. It could be a conference, right? It could be an office building. Obviously, this is being done like you can geofence the U.S. Capitol and run ads, So I can do that. That's been around for years. Everybody and a lot of marketers are utilizing that right now. The innovation that's coming out right now is geofarming. And geofarming is this is awesome. It's going to blow your mind. Geofarming is I can go back 2.5 years to any geographic location and capture the people that were in that spot. So if you are a business owner, there was a conference in Las Vegas at the Mirage Hotel, and it was all the people all the vendors you're trying to sell a product to. And it was done in 2017, this conference, right? I can right now go back, geofence that particular room or where it was happening, get all the IP addresses of the people that were there, their phones, and start delivering ads just to those people.
And where do you get that data from? So are you getting that from the cell phone companies, or like who's selling you the data?
There are companies out there that have this in place now.
Interesting.
That was a very vague answer.
That's fine.
I don't know.
That's fine.
Do you think I get into the weeds of this? I'm just telling you what it is. Like I go to the vendor that we work with and I go geofarm this, and he goes boom, and he does it.
It is pretty fascinating though about like cable television versus digital TV, because in the past like Nielsen ratings were really inaccurate. I mean they were very much based on educated guesses at the best. So we can actually track exactly who's watching what. And what you talked about with them watching that news segment, you basically get an unfiltered rebuttal to the whole story, which is pretty incredible.
So I got a couple of questions here. First of all, I just want to address the morality of this, right?
What's immoral about it?
Well, let's say hypothetically that this certain company that has a negative story, and let's just be real, maybe it's not a negative story. Maybe it's like something happened and people need to know that this company did something that was not in integrity and maybe hurt some people, right? So with that, what is the benefit to humanity to counter that narrative, to keep this mechanism going that's destructive to our psyche?
So I don't agree with that premise at all. And when you say the media gets to be the arbiter of what's right and what's wrong, I've worked for 25 years with the media, and I can tell you they've written stories about me that are completely false. I work for companies that believe that there are two sides to every story. I work with politicians that believe there are two sides to every story. It's kind of what the Constitution is all about. You have the First Amendment right to speak what you want to speak about. And I believe everybody is entitled to a defense. And if the NBC Nightly News runs a story about a problem the company has, fair, but don't they have the right to respond to that?
Of course they do. Of course they do. But what I see as a problem is that it's now not a matter of responding to a narrative. What our world is coming to is creating an alternate narrative that runs counter to a narrative that may not be favorable to a company or a person. And I don't, that's one point. The other point is a matter of the fact that the one thing I own is my DNA and my own personal data, and the fact that my data is just like
you don't own your data, man.
I know I don't own my data, and that's but that's the point, right? It's a little freaky to me. I was thinking about that with my son who's 5, and I don't post anything on Facebook now, but his mother does, and the thought that he has no say in the amount of information about him that is already available, and he doesn't own it. It's a little mind-boggling to me, and there's something wrong with that. I feel that it's just wrong.
Well, I believe that in the next 15 years, owning data will be a commodity like owning property. I think companies and marketers are going to have to pay customers. Like, hey, here's the amount of money. Can we get your data so we can run an ad on you?
Do you think blockchain will play into that to protect the data? Like, are you familiar with that much?
Yeah, I probably spent 6 hours trying to understand all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I'm still learning it, but I kind of think it seems like it has an application here.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can already see there are startups right now. I mean, I just had lunch with a guy that was working on a startup where they are going to go to the Fortune 200 companies and say, you spend $200 million a year on marketing and advertising, spend $100 million, take the $100 million you're already spending, and then reinvest it into giving your customers discounts. So go to Home Depot. You don't have to spend $200 million on ads. You can spend $100 million, and $100 million is going to go to giving people 1% back on their purchases. And using the data to incentivize people and get paid for it. And that may end up being where marketing goes in the future. It may not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still think I always say content's king, right? I can tell you how great the data is and how the strategy is, but if your content sucks, you're not getting anything. And so, and we know that in politics, our creative has to tug at emotions, right? It's what we're totally lacking right now is that people don't use their marketing to build relationships. And I think that's so critical. You've got to build a relationship with your customer, and it takes more time and it's more investment. But the bottom line is nobody wants to click on a banner ad unless you're in the message testing phase.
I think you have to allocate a certain, like you said, you have to allocate a certain percentage of your marketing budget to retarget your existing customers and offer them incentives to stay with you, because that's the easiest segment to go after too.
Yep.
So I think a lot of companies miss that. Yeah.
And it's also getting more challenging because people just don't buy into advertising anymore. You know what's funny about this is that, because you're talking about, targeting on devices and stuff. And my son, who, when he was like 2, he knew that skip ad button on YouTube, right? He knew what
those
that
first 3 seconds still got in that brain.
And he does not watch advertising. The only advertising that he sees at all is in-app advertising when he's playing a game. And that like he sees more advertising that way than any other.
But you could buy that on Facebook right now. You could buy that in-app advertising, just so you know.
Yeah. So okay, so it's going to be like, so what about people who don't use like a Hulu and they're just like Netflix only and like Disney Plus? How do you reach those particular?
Yeah, they're allowing you to run ads now. Disney Plus is a little bit different because you have to work directly with them and not like a third party company that's designed the ability to target. Like go, okay, we're going to go where the eyeballs go. With Disney Plus, you're going to have to go straight to Disney Plus.
What about Hulu? Because Disney just took controlling share in Hulu. My understanding was like just a couple months ago. Did that change at all?
That hasn't changed yet.
No.
Okay. I'm yet to see whether they'll change the model over at Hulu as well. I'm sure they will if it benefits.
Eventually.
Do you ever run into like points in time where you're like working with a politician and you're just like, this guy is he's a good for nothing just.
And you still have to market him?
Wait, hold on. You think there are those kind of people in politics?
Yeah, right?
One or two.
I've never seen one, but maybe.
So, but is it, do you just put all that aside and you're just like, I'm in it for the money? Or is there like, no. He's just in it for the money? Okay. No, I mean, do you, what do you do?
I've never, I kind of made a decision 23, 24 years ago where I said I wasn't going to do that and work with those kind of people. I have started working with those people, and then I decided that I walked away. There was a candidate back in 2006. He was a reality TV guy. And we worked together, and he had a lot of promise. He had good brand name identity and all that stuff. And then after about a month, he said, I'm going to turn my campaign into a reality show. I've signed a contract with some, crazy, production company.
This isn't the reality show candidate that we all know, right? This is like another
2006.
Like a different
2006.
Well, he
wasn't running. He wasn't running back then, was he?
No, this guy was running for Congress. This guy was running.
Okay.
And I went. He goes, so you're going to be on TV? And I went, no, I'm not. And he goes, what? I go, no, I'm not doing that. And frankly, if you sign that contract, I'm walking away because I'm in it for people that want to make a solid difference on society. He didn't. He signed I left him. He signed the contract. He stopped raising money and doing the things you needed to do to win. And he had this great strategy, billboards, which means nothing to me. It's kind of like yard signs. I hate them. Yeah. And so he ended up getting 32% of the vote, and his opponent got 60 or 68%. So I had left him 6 months earlier, and that was that.
Interesting.
Wow. So you say that it's going to be moving more towards like individual devices, geofencing, like focusing on certain people.
IP address based too. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the dark side of this, let's say hypothetically that a lot of people go to a protest, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter, like whatever they're protesting, and this information can also be used for like government tracking as well. They're just going to be able to give you. Yeah. So
it probably is.
Well, I'm sure of it.
Guaranteed.
And by the way, I listened. God, I can't. I think it was there's a podcast called Reply All, if I'm not mistaken, and I actually found the way that the thing that you're talking about works. There's apps that, and some of them are very popular games that you can download onto your phone. They're free. And the data that you put into the phone is then goes to a third party, which then basically is a vendor and sells the data to anybody. So once your data goes into a app of some sort, even if the terms and conditions might apply on that particular app or with your phone company, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to stay there. So do you think that because here in Europe the laws are a bit more strict.
Yeah. They changed a couple of years ago, right?
Oh, in fact, what's really crazy is I never ever get ads on my phone. Like if I'm saying something like talking about dog food, I don't get dog food ads on my phone.
Sure.
They're not allowed to do that. But do you think that there's going to be rules that will change, or do you think that people are making so much money and being able to persuade people to release their free will, essentially, so much that there will be no laws to curb this behavior?
I think the behaviors or the ability to collect data will absolutely change in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's hopeful.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a much bigger call for privacy. And which is why these companies are probably shifting over to this model of, hey, download this company's app, and everywhere you go, you get 5% off, 5% cash back on anything you buy. That's going to be the new marketing in 10 years.
Free phone, like you get your phone for free if there was a company that tried to do that, Blue, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's getting more expensive too to market online. I mean, period. The competition's way up right now, so it's not as cheap as it used to be also. I mean, that's got to factor into some of that too.
Right.
So Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel went to dinner at the White House a couple of weeks ago. They will not talk about what that dinner consisted of. It was a long conversation.
What was his name? Peter what?
Peter Thiel? What did they talk about?
Are we just conjecturing here?
They have a right. They have a right to privacy. Like, it may not be what you want. Listen, I mean, like you. The only thing I put on Facebook is the stuff we're promoting with my brand stuff. Like I'm off Facebook. I'm pretty much off Instagram. I post occasionally on Twitter. I deleted Snapchat. I'm not going to get on TikTok. I run a digital marketing agency.
Same.
China runs
at
TikTok.
At a certain point, I just don't see. I think it also. I actually wrote a post on this. I think the next big market crash is social media. Because it started, like, I'll tell you this, when I got on Facebook back in 2008 and Twitter in 2009, I was like, this is incredible. I'm finding old friends. I'm learning about news events through Twitter. Wow, this is amazing. And it's devolved in, Gary Vaynerchuk has a great saying, marketers ruin everything.
Yeah.
And that's basically what's happened, right? So it's not that I'm a participant on Facebook that much, but they do have the right talk to the president, and they have the right to push their agenda, and that's what our democracy is all about.
Facebook
so that does
is
not bother me.
Facebook's like the same 7 people now. Every single time I go on there, I'm going to see the same 7 people post over and over. So yeah, I mean, you talk about echo chambers. It's like I don't even have political friends, but it's an echo chamber of the same shit every time.
And you know, you see this, like people will post, like if you post something that's happy, there is someone out there that'll be like, well, that's bullshit. Like people get mad and like, then they don't like, and it's like, why am I even participating in this? Why am I projecting my happiness onto somebody? What is that? Because I want attention? Like, is it all attentional based? Like my projections of happiness, my family are all because I'm needing something that I'm not getting somewhere else, and so maybe I went inward and said maybe I should put that into my own family instead.
Well, the biggest problem I have with social media, like overall, is that it's a flood of information. It's a fire hose of information, and what it has done is it has made wisdom a thing of the past, because we're not paying attention to the lessons of our forefathers. Part of the thing with history is that, you know, this is the best information that has been passed down. Like the best has risen to the top. We've learned from the mistakes. Society has been built up. And now that's all out the window, because we don't care about what happened, 20 years ago. Right. It's all about like getting likes right now. So we live in a society where wisdom is disappearing, and your own self-worth has to do with how many likes you get, which is... it's retarded, And I don't mean that as a slight against retarded people. I mean that as a slight against, like, it's like not mentally.
Andros, you just crossed the line.
Yeah, no, that's a risky word right there.
Yeah,
I know.
Hey, look, I'm a hypocrite. I admit it. I'm in this space using all of these things to get people engaged. I'm hoping to do it in a way that helps society. I know sometimes it doesn't. That's the cross I'll have to bear at some point. But personally, I've kind of checked out of it.
Yeah. And it's funny because
Well, I mean, like, so how do you reconcile that? That's the thing I want to know.
Do you ever do anything hypocritical?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
But
how do you reconcile that?
Well, the thing is I try and do better. So for like one of the things is
I got off social media.
Like, well, I made a decision like to not take my son to McDonald's anymore, because I feel that, the meat comes from the Amazon rainforest. It has a ton of plastic. The food's not good for you. So, but really, I try to live by my belief system. So, one of those things is, of course, getting off social. So what do you do personally to protect yourself and your data? Like, what do you recommend other people do?
I mean, here's one little tip, if this helps. I do not use Google, even though I had to download Google Chrome to be with you sons of bitches today. I don't use Google at all. I use DuckDuckGo, because they don't track anything you do. There's no history. There's no tracking. There's nothing. It's not a good search engine, but I've made that decision that I don't want Google knowing. I mean, listen, if I wanted to, I could go into Google and I could see every movement I've had in the last 5 years. The stores I went into, the arenas I went into, sporting events. How many days a week I went to work. I have a friend of mine who, when he's in California, even though he's not like he has Google on his phone or whatever, and they'll say, hey, you're here, you're by the airport. You should go over to this. They're making recommendations unsolicited. I just don't want to do that, so I'm off Google, except in my search engines and in my tracking.
Well, before we finish up here, I want to change gears a bit and talk a little bit about your digital and your corporate marketing side of your business. And also the fact that you've done interviews with some top influencers in marketing. You've been on major news outlets. So do you use a lot of do you tend to promote yourself, like your personal brand? Or like, tell me about your company. Like, do you have a back end company that's doing a lot of this? Are you doing this mostly like as yourself, or like how does it work when you take on a corporate client? Is that mostly you operating? Or
We have a full service digital marketing agency where, listen, I have a very specific niche. You have to follow. In fact, I'm trademarking the system right now, but you have to follow our 5 steps, which is data on your, I don't care. I love the business owner, just like I love the politician. I care more about the voters and the customers. So you have to invest in a deep dive in your customers first to work with me. I must understand it. So I have a partnership. This goes back, it's probably going to get Andros mad at me again, but I have a partnership with the largest data collection company in America. So I can overlay a customer file of a company, like we have a major national pest control company. I can overlay their customer file, and then I can tell in each market, I can tell them what their customers think, what they feel, what they value in life, what platforms they're on, and what chronological order. So is Facebook their number one platform? Because we track them, right? And then, so what we found with this pest control company was they had spent a ton of millions and millions of marketing. They'd lost market share. They couldn't figure out why. They had been marketing to discounts for years, and it had worked, and then it stopped, and they didn't know why. Well, the economy changed. And the data told us that their customer base had money and discounts seemed cheap, and they didn't want to buy into cheap. And so they also wanted the customer base wanted a family-owned business. Each of this national chains, they have, family-owned businesses that own each different market. They didn't tell that. They gave money to charity. They didn't tell that. The marketplace, the customer base wanted to know that. The customer base wanted a higher standard. They wanted green products to come into their home. They had green products and they had never marketed it. So the data told us all these things. So then we completely did a new ad campaign for them. We have a full creative team, video, and the theme of the ad to get people's attention was there are a lot of things that pester you in life, and it's this guy snoring and it's people in traffic, and it shouldn't be your bug company, right? And it's, it immediately grabs their attention. It makes them smile. And then it goes into, this is a family-owned business. We give money to charity. It's a green product, blah, 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 right? Well, we found that through the data. And then we wrote a strategic marketing plan for them. And then we rebranded them. And then we tested all these messages. This is the fourth step. And then the fifth step was we created this ad once we knew what worked. And we went out there and ran it. It takes 0 to 90 days to go through the first four steps. And then after that, it's game on. In the fourth month of working with us, they had the greatest month in the history of their company in marketing.
And how long had they been in business?
44 years.
Okay, that's pretty good then.
Wow.
And I will tell you this. It's not because of anything I did. It's because I used common sense and said, what do your customers care about first?
You got to listen.
Once you know that, then you deliver the message. High quality, green products, family owned. We give money to charity. And then, because here's what I know. And you guys, I know some of you guys, one of y'all has a SEO background, right? If people are going to go and search for a pest control company, they're not doing it for green products. They're not doing it for family-owned business. They're not doing it because they give money to charity. They're doing it because they want the bugs dead. That's it. I got bugs. I need them dead. Google bug company. Now, there's a menu. What's the difference that makes the difference when you go to that menu? That's what I love. That's what I'm concerned about. That's what I think about. So if you want to work with me, you have to follow this process, this 5-step process, because here's the thing. I've had a lot of companies come to me, big ones, and say, no, we just want to run a bunch of Facebook ads. And I go, I won't work with you. Like, you can't, I don't want the short-term play. I'm in to build businesses and help them grow. I'm in month-to-month contracts. After you work with me for the first month, you get the strategic plan we write you. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. I take all the risk off the table for the business owner. And if they still think they want to take the get-rich-quick pill, then I'm not the right person for them.
Well, tell me about the free 5-minute audit that you're offering the listeners, or you're offering anyone interested in working with you in the future. Like, tell me about that on your website.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to, there's so many people that are confused by, I mean, you guys know this, right? There are 1,000 ways that you can market your product or service. How are you doing this properly? And so what we came up with was, well, you know what? We're going to give something back in a way that gives people some insight. So we created a 5-minute marketing audit. If you're a marketer or business owner, you go to phillipstutts.com and click on the free marketing audit tab. It takes you 5 minutes to fill it out. It's your publicly available digital footprint. My team will spend 2 to 3 business days poring over everything you're doing, and then they will put together a 25-point checklist, 7-page report on what you're doing right and what you can improve. And we'll also do a 30-minute call to answer your questions and tell you, go through it with you and do all that. And it's absolutely free. You do not have to hire me to do this.
That's a great deal.
If after that you go, holy shit, I got to work with you guys. Cool. That's great. We'll talk about what that looks like. But if you go, cool, I got this report, I'm going to go do it myself, go do it yourself.
And no minimum requirement? I mean, do you need a company that's making a certain amount of money or anything to
They
qualify?
need to make at least $1 billion a year.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
No, I'm just kidding.
At least $1 billion.
Anyway, no. Most of the company, no. Any company can come in. We have had, we've had two that have come in that are over $1 billion companies, but we've also had a lot of startups. So it's run the gambit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been an incredible conversation, Phillip. I would love to have what, one of the things I really loved about this conversation was the fact that you and I obviously are on two sides of the political spectrum, but we can have a decent conversation without trolling each other and getting into name calling.
Not too bad.
Which there's hope. There's hope for America.
Well, we should. My wife is a insanely liberal Democrat. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Why'd she marry you?
Half of my friends.
I'm just kidding.
Over half of my friends are liberal. My wife and I met each other 13 years ago. No one gave a shit. It was like, oh, you think that way? Cool. You think that way? Cool. Now you can't do that. I don't think in this day and age, my wife and I would have worked out. I'm dead serious.
They actually legitimately have online dating sites that are like only Republicans and only Democrats right now.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So I'm wired this way. I think, Andros, is because of our age. In all honesty, maybe age is something that's good to getting older, which is I just care about the person. And by the way, here's what I know. If you and I sat down and talked about everything that we believed in, we'd probably agree on 75% of everything.
I'm sure. And I would, I would love to have that conversation with you at some point. If you ever come out to the Netherlands, please, I would love to hang out.
I love that.
So we've got to wrap up the show. But two things. First of all, at the beginning of the show, we talked about you are also doing all of this high stress stuff. You have a life-threatening illness. And how do you take care of yourself through that? How do you manage all of this?
I'm an entrepreneur. I own 4 companies. All of them are profitable, no debt, no outside investment. I love being an entrepreneur. And when I I was diagnosed with and by the way, I did the opposite with my health. So for the first 5 years that I had this disease, it's called achalasia. It's an esophageal disease. My esophagus doesn't work. So eating doesn't really work for me. Everything gets stuck. There's no muscle that pushes food into my stomach. And it's an incurable disease. It affects old people in their 70s and 80s mostly. And I was diagnosed in my 30s. And without a cure, I will have my esophagus removed and I'll be on a feeding tube the rest of my life within 5 or 10 years. And so I stuck my head in the sand, said I'll let the doctors deal with this, and I didn't want to deal with it. And when the doctors said the feeding tube, it's funny that we talk about I don't Google anymore, but I had never Googled this disease in 5 years. I'd had 3 major surgeries where they had ripped apart my esophagus. I'd had 15 minor procedures, and I'd still never Googled it. That's how wrapped in fear I was of this. I turned everything over to the doctors. I was going to the Mayo Clinic, which is the best hospital in the United States, and I just said, well, they'll deal with it. They're the best. Those doctors see 100 patients a day. I'm no different, and there's no different. And their strategy is a cookie cutter strategy, the exact opposite of the way I'm wired in my own business. And so I just decided I was taking things into my own hands. I declared that I would find a cure to my disease in 5 years, a disease that's rare. There's no research dollars in rare diseases. I did this 3 years ago, and I wrote an article in Inc. magazine. A researcher of the disease found it. Long, crazy, circuitous story, but I found one doctor that had been working on the disease for 20 years. We partnered. He built a team around me. We've worked with the FDA. Now it's at Johns Hopkins University. We're working with Johns Hopkins. We have it all approved. And this past fall, I started the first ever one-man clinical trial where they extracted stem cells out of my thigh muscle They're skeletal stem cells. They are in a lab right now being cultured and grown. And this spring, they will insert them into my esophagus to try to regenerate the muscles and the nerves.
That's incredible.
Wow. It has never been done before on animals, much less people. It could have a really bad consequence. We don't know. It could have a great consequence. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I've decided I'm going to go for it, and I don't want to live like this anymore. And so I just took an entrepreneurial approach. It's not that the doctors at the Mayo Clinic were wrong. It's that they have to see 100 patients a day. I'm no different. And if you understand that about your health, that we're all wired differently. People will say, you got to get on this diet and this health. Well, your body handles different things different ways, and everybody is different. And I had to understand my body first and then try to figure out what would work for it. And I just took an entrepreneurial approach, and we'll see it works. By the way, most entrepreneurs fail. And if this fails, I'm okay with it. I am. I'm totally good. I will go for plan B. I truly believe that one day I will be able to to eat normally again, to avoid esophageal cancer, which I'm very susceptible to now, and that I'll have a normal life. It may be this test. It may not. It may be something else. I don't know, but I'm going to go for it.
Well, brother, I am rooting for you.
Thank you.
And will you come back on the show? Because we had another political expert. They were actually a movement body language person. And we wanted to have them come back on to rate the candidates. But I would love to have you back on as we get closer to the election so you can rate the candidates' political ads.
Or strategies.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Hey, you know what's really interesting about your side? They're going to nominate someone that's old and white.
Are you saying Joe Biden? Is he the guy?
Bernie or Warren or Bloomberg? Their top candidates are all in their 70s and old, and they're white.
True.
That's the party of diversity.
I'm Elizabeth Warren. I'm an Elizabeth Warren fan, but
sure, she's old and white. Of course you are.
You know what? I would vote for Oprah.
I would too, actually.
Look,
I think she's awesome.
just at this point, I would vote for a St. Bernard. Honestly. With what's in there, I would just...
All right, I got one last one. What do you think the most important issue is right now for Democratic primary voters?
The most important issue... I don't know.
Well, just guess.
Let's see. I would say healthcare.
All right, Justin, what do you think?
I would say that it's... Well, I want to say they want to disrupt the economy. I think it's still the economy, even though the economy is thriving according to the data. They want to change the whole system. So I don't know. That's what I'm leaning towards that because of the way they're proposing kind of the democratic socialism.
Yeah. So you're not even close, either one of you. And the number one issue in the Democratic primary voting right now is anybody that can beat Trump.
Okay. Yes. I would agree. I would agree with that.
That's not a trick question. That is literally, they're like, we don't care about the environment. Beat Trump. Like, that's it. Just whatever it takes. Beat Trump.
First things first.
And that kind of motivation is very powerful. It's very powerful.
Well, that's why I left the States because I knew what's going to happen next. I have a pretty good idea about what's going to happen next with all of this. And before it happens, I was like, nope, I'm out. So. I just left the fray. I just stepped back.
Before we finish, though, I do have to ask you because you were on Gary V's show. This is totally different here, but I want to. What was that? That looked like he looks less fit in that photo. So I'm assuming that was like 2012 to 2014, 2015 range.
No, that was about 15 months ago.
Really? Because all right, Gary. I guess you got in better health recently.
Get to the cross.
So what was that like? Like, what was that experience like? What was it like meeting Gary V? And just tell me just briefly, like in a minute,
I love the guy, and I actually think if he wanted to run, he can't legally, but if he ever wanted to run for president, I think he could probably win. I've been, we had a 20-minute interview, which was crazy, was on the Daily V. We talked about politics, about, how he would run for office. We talked about the similarities of politicians and brands and how he looks at brands. And I like the mission. I know he drives, some people the energy is all over the place, but his heart is full of gold. It really is. What you see is what you get.
Now, did he find you, or did you reach out to his office to get on that?
We have a mutual friend, and they connected us. I'm now they're booking Vayner Speakers as his speaking bureau, and they're booking me on speaking now through Gary's
how neat.
Through Gary's platform. Yeah,
power of relationships. You mentioned relationships that matter.
Yeah, totally. And the other one is James Altucher, who I think is the greatest guy.
I'm just getting familiar with him now. I hadn't heard of him until recently, but yes, he's pretty incredible.
Nice. Well, finally, before we wrap up, we here at the Marketing Geeks always like to find out what people are geeky about. So what is the thing that you are most geeky about?
Outside of politics, I guess.
outside of politics, it could be like what you're doing, but like movie, book, TV show, hobby. What are you most geeky about right now?
Well, can I talk about what it is in marketing? Because I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Go. That's fine.
Man, whatever it is you're geeky about.
Retargeting pools. Ooh, it's really geeky. So my thing is this. I believe in building relationships with customers, that your first transaction is not it should not be the sale. It should be to get people into a retargeting pool so you can continue to build the relationship with them.
Yeah.
And so I'm obsessed with how do you take someone from not knowing your brand to in a retargeting pool, and then what you do with them once they're in the retargeting pool, how you deliver content that really satisfies and gets them to go, I want what they're selling.
Yeah.
And so I have a subscriber list. It's also at phillipstutts.com, but I just wrote a post on how e-com companies should be looking at retargeting pools around the holidays. I'd encourage you to go read it, because I think there's a step process every company should be using in e-com or B2C companies that they should be following to get people into retargeting pools to convert them as customers.
100%. And I think if you're not doing that, you're missing a big boat. You're missing the boat, because you need multiple touches before somebody trusts you too, especially if they're totally cold traffic.
Right.
So the retargeting gives you that opportunity.
That's right.
Right on, man. Well, Justin, what are you geeky about this week?
Crap, what did I just watch? I watched something. I don't even know what it was, but
that's amazing. What was it? I want to buy it.
Right. I've talked about Succession on HBO. I'm a big fan of that show, which is kind of like a conservative family that runs a news media outlet that all like backstab and fight each other, which I think is a fun show. But the other, I guess the Irishman is the one I'm excited about, but I haven't watched it yet. So I can't get too excited.
You don't
have
3.5 hours of time?
I haven't found it yet, but I got to find it. It'll be like between 1 and 4 a.m.
My wife keeps falling asleep in the middle of movies, especially long ones. And so I'm tempted to just take The Irishman and have her watch it and fall asleep, and then put in something else. You
know what? I just watched Knives Out. I don't know why I forgot, but Knives Out is actually really good. Ryan Johnson redeemed himself from the Last Jedi travesty, and he made a good movie. It's like a Columbo style detective movie. So if you ever,
I'll see it. I'll see it on Saturday. And then finally for me, I saw the new episode of season 4 of Rick and Morty, brand new Rick and Morty episode, which was great as always. My wife hates it, so I don't know if it's going to work out eventually, because we have this huge issue. Republican, Democrat, that's one thing, but not liking Rick and Morty, that's like a mortal sin. And then Watchmen. The Watchmen show on HBO is mind-blowingly good. But you must read the graphic novel, or at least see the Watchmen movie.
It's a sequel, right? Is it a sequel?
It takes place a few years afterwards, but it's so well done, and I'm really impressed. I'm about halfway through it, and I really enjoy it. So there you go.
Hey, guys, let me say this. I'm really grateful to have me on.
This was fantastic.
I believe niche is the way to be successful in this world now. Everybody's trying to go broad and big, and I just don't think it works. But the fact that there's a podcast from Marketing Geeks is so cool and niche, and I just love that mission. I think you guys do a great job. So thank you for having me.
We'll share it with 5,000 of your closest friends.
Yeah. No, I will. I will, absolutely.
And get Gary Vaynerchuk on the show, or we'll go on his show, whatever works,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
Phillip Stutts, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. This was amazing. Really great.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys didn't fight each other, and you kept it civil, and that was fascinating stuff.
He was an all right dude for a right wing guy, But
yeah,
I don't hold it against him. I mean, I actually, honestly, I enjoy that I can. It's weird, but when we have a day and age where somebody who has political differences, you can actually sit down and talk. But I want to interesting stuff about the Cambridge Analytica. So
we'll have to look a little deeper into that. Yeah,
I was schooled, but and also the fact that people are looking for anyone who could beat Donald Trump is also a very
as the number one voting issue.
I think it's actually because people feel that if we can get someone other than Trump, we'll just figure out the rest of the shit later. So.
And you have to realize that we're in the primary season, so that will likely change once they settle on somebody. But that's their number one, and then it'll shift as they get into the main general election.
Yeah, exactly. So you know who I have next to me now?
Who's that?
Is my lovely wife Iris, who's going to tell us about next week's guests here.
Welcome, Iris.
Hey, welcome. Hi, Justin. So that was a great show. We are looking at next week's recording, and you are going to receive Christopher Luckhead. And the Christopher, my man is pushing me into the microphone now. Christopher, besides that he is good looking, but that you don't see on this recording, is an author, and his new book, Niche Down, is coming out, and you are probably going to talk about his new book and of all the other exciting things he has to mention. So really looking forward to Christopher Luckhead next week. So Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Iris. All
right, Iris, ladies and gentlemen.
One more time.
Who also got to give her a shout out. She produces the show and keeps us on track and makes sure that we seem a lot more professional.
All the guest bookings.
Handles all the guest booking and all that. And with that, another fine episode.
Man,
of the Marketing Geeks.
Why haven't we worked on political campaigns? What's our problem? Why are we not working the back end of these things?
Because we have morals, my friend.
Oh, okay.
We have ethics. Well, I do.
One of us does.
So we've got Christopher Luckhead next episode. More, we've got to do some geek news one of these days.
Yeah. And eventually we got to drop another webinar too. So we got things to do here. We got things to do.
Yeah, and I've still, lots of stuff coming up. So, and I hope everybody is getting ready for Christmas. I hope everybody's staying healthy, and
that's right.
Yeah, man.
The holidays are just around the corner, at least while we're recording this, and likely right when we release it, they're even closer. So get excited for those. And with that,
have a fantastic rest of the year, beginning of next. And we are the Marketing Geeks. Out!
Stay classy.